In a world different from ours, magic exists. The Dark Lord Satan wages a campaign with four generals, Adramec, Lucifer, Ashiel, and Makoda, to conquer the multiple island continents under his realm of darkness. However, a brave human soon arose and led the human armies against the dark force and pushes them back to the stronghold. So here with the advice from Aziel, Satan faces up with the hero but was suddenly defeated, and instead, along with Aziel, opened up a dimensional portal, then leaves his world but with a vow to return. The portal then took them to modern day Japan. And in addition to being shocked by the new human forms, Satan and Aziel are taken to the nearest police station, where he was able to learn a bit about this new world, which to his greatest surprise lacks magic. And as it progresses, Satan and Aziel get new identity and are able to secure a residence, open a bank account, and go job hunting in order to survive. Sometimes later, on his way to his part-time job at Gronos franchise, he then encounters a beautiful scarlet-haired girl across the walk and offered her his umbrella to shield her from the rain. While Zelda works, he ensures Arshia to take care of their domestic needs and also replenish their magical powers so they can leave this world and return to their own. While at the restaurant, Saddle experiences a seemingly random earthquake and faces a dilemma whether to use his remaining magic to repair the broken appliance, not getting a chance to. But nonetheless, he managed to impress his fellow co-worker Shio Sasaki with his people skills and as well as his higher ups through his dedication to the work. He is able to secure a permanent position. Being so excited, he paddles his bicycle home to tell Ashia. He is once again confronted by the same scarlet-haired girl who was revealed to be a hero from their own dimension, named Amelia Justina. As soon as Satan and Aziel departed from Antasia, Emily and her comrades decided to give them a chase. Now back in present-day Japan, Saddle tries to reason with Amelia, now under the identity of Amy Yusa, but to no avail. She pulled out a small knife out of her bag and makes it to attack him, and afterwards they are arrested and brought to a police station for questioning, where the officer in charge mistakes them for having a petty lover quarrel. Much to Emily's protest, on their way home, Emily threatens Saddle about telling him that she knows where he lives. The following day, it was revealed that Amy works at the call center and during her leisure time does a little bit of shopping. Later that night, while feeling angry that she's not living a better lifestyle than Saddle, she decided to pay them a visit. Then Ashia in shock locks her out, and while she sobs and begs for them to let her in, Sadie casually explains his circumstances to her. After remarking on Saddle's pathetic lifestyle, she explains to him that she along with a priest, Abba Mayor, were going to follow them through the portal before it disappears, and how she ended up being the only one to be transported there. Saddle then explains that he would work his way up the workforce and eventually take over Japan, which Amy finds really pathetic. Over the next few days, Amy begins stalking Saddle and Ashio around town and learns that they are living a good and humble life. She then visits Saddle at the restaurant he works in and asks to meet him after work at a crosswalk near town. Shio Sasaki, noticing Amy's beauty, becomes jealous and later asks Saddle about the recent earthquakes in order to get to talk to him. But to her relief, she found out he was staying with a male roommate. After meeting up with Amy, she asked Saddle whether he's considering staying in the human world, but he explained that he will return to Rula instead. Then they suddenly got shot at, and soon both realized that they are being shot at with magic bullets from a sniper, and they soon escaped. As Saddle realized that they have a common enemy, he casually blames Amy before leaving for the night. Amy, however, shows up again at his apartment, much to his surprise. Saddle then casually gives her sanctuary again, to her sheer surprise, as Emily tearfully ponders to herself how that situation arose. That night, Saddle received a mysterious text from Shiro warning him that more earthquakes are on their way. The following morning, Amy left Saddle and Ashia pickles from the ingredients they have in the fridge as thanks, and that same time, the national news broadcasted the shooting that Emily and Saddle were involved in. She shook not hell but getting excited as Saddle accepts her offer to meet her and talk about the earthquake, but with caution from her mother to beware of muggles. Meanwhile, while Amy receives an anonymous call at work from the very same enemy who shot at them the previous night, telling her that killing her and Satan will be of interest. Later, the police are able to track down Sado due to his bicycle, and Amy is forced to vouch for his identity. As they leave the station, Amy tells Sado about their common enemy and wants him to be careful since killing him is her job. And then Ashia went with Sado to buy new clothes for his date with Shiro. Finally, it's 5 p.m, the time of the date. Unknown to Sado, Ashia follows them to a nearby cafe to make sure nothing happens to Sado. As he suspiciously watches them, Amy catches him in the act to see Sado on a date and envious remarks that Shiro just has a cute presence. Then she drags Ashia into the cafe so they can eavesdrop. During the day, Shiro explains to Sado that she has been hearing a strange language lately, and that the people speaking were trying to contact someone and made reference to a large earthquake soon to occur. Sado then realizes this phenomenon, that it was an intermediate communication system called ID Link, and that what was likely to have caused the earthquake was a sonar spell trying to detect him and Amy. At this time, Sado noticed Amy walking into the cafe and loudly make his intention known of helping Shiro. As Shiro was about to confess her love for Sado, she was stopped by Amy, and Shiro misunderstands by thinking that she is Sado's ex-girlfriend. Then they got into a large argument when suddenly a large-scale earthquake strikes. When Shiro awakens surrounded by debris, she and Amy makes up. Then Amy warns her not to get too close to Sado before putting her to sleep. With Shiro unconscious, Amy calls out to Sado, who comes out in his demonic form with increased amounts of magic. As Amy was about to summon her sword to kill him, Sado tells her that he would save them. As Sado removes the debris, Amy in a shocked state, wondering why he would want to save them. Then Sado kept lifting the debris, thus keeping everybody out of harm's way. And in the aftermath, the authorities reported that there were no casualties. Then suddenly, in a flashback to Anastasia, young Emily enjoys her day with her father, and they talk about the priest that will guard them from the Dark Lord, Tyrion. Suddenly, the same priest shows up in order to take Emily away from her father, then tells her she was the only one who can defeat the Dark Lord, being a human-angel hybrid. Emilia then laments that this is the last time she saw her father, since the Dark Lord forces destroying their village, killing everyone including him. She then trains to use the Holy Sword Better Half and vows to slay the Demon Lord. Now back at modern day Japan, Sado then reverts from his Demon Lord form and learns that Shiro Sasaki is the daughter of the Inspector Sasaki, who he used a spell on to get information when they first arrived at Japan. Sado then relays this to Amy that Shiro must have gotten feedback from the spell, which is how she was able to intercept the ID Link. Then he went further ahead to explain that the earthquake was no coincidence. It struck the exact spot they were all at, and the enemy didn't try again when they got out of the debris because he started to regain his powers. Afterwards, Amy spends the night at her co-worker Rika Suzuki's place, where Rika talks about how the human nature was about to change in the face of diversity, with people choosing to become like angels or demons. Rika then turns on the national news, which reports that the series of mugging have increased drastically. And casualties is Amy about being in a relationship with Sado since she saw them together after the earthquake, cutting out to wonder again why Sado had saved all those people. The next day, Amy shows up in Sado's apartment and falls down the stairs. As Ashia goes to buy bandages, Amy grew upset about the kindness Sado has been showing towards her, saying that it's out of character. She then bursts into tears and telling him that her reason for wanting to kill him is because of his tyranny towards the people of Antisla that led to her father's death. Sado laments that back then he didn't understand people's feelings. Suddenly, Ashia walks in with Shiro, who misunderstands the scene and runs away with a broken heart. Just then, the landlady Miki comes in and advises that they all go after Shiro and makes reference to the Ideal Link and Sonar spell. And at the same time, two of Amelia's comrades hurry through another portal to Japan. While tearfully admitting that she has fallen in love with Sado, Shiro bumps into a strange person who tells her he will use her envy and despair of the Dark Lord and the hero to surpass Satan. He then manifested black wings. And as Sado, Amy and Ashia approaches from afar, an explosion occurs and a winged person takes to the sky. As Sado, Amy and Ashia climbs through the rubble, Sado acknowledges the person to be Demon General Lucifer. Amy asks Lucifer how he survived their previous battle on Anatesla. Then Sado was able to deduce that he was aided by the priest Abameyo, who reveals himself behind Lucifer, much to Amy's shock. Sado also further states that the priest was the only one who could have schemed up against him and Amy, and was going to assume power after killing them and promised to return Lucifer to heaven in exchange for his help. Lucifer then attacks them with Ashia, taking a nearly fatal hit, causing them to flee. Sado then explains that Lucifer gets his power from people's negative emotion and as thus was responsible for the strings of mugging reported in the area, which he realizes after his own magic returns during the cafe collapse and the victim's fear fueled his own power. Since he couldn't regain his magic at any time soon, Lucifer then asked Satan why he didn't throw this world into chaos, and Satan told him he doesn't want to cause trouble for the present world that treated him well. Lucifer then uses Shiro's emotion to attack them with a barrel of magical bullets. Obam appears with a gun and shoots Sado's chest. He then teleported them to the front of the crowded Sasasuki station. Here, as the crowd looks at the speculation, Lucifer shot a magic bullet that suddenly kills Sado and then went ahead to attack the overloaded bridge, and it collapsed towards Amy and Shiro. Just then, Satan emerges in his demonic form and saves Amy and Shiro from being crushed. Amy then realizes that he teleported them to the crowded area on purpose so he can feed off of everyone's fear and power off. Satan then projects a barrier around the entire city, knocking all the civilians unconscious. Suddenly, Amy summons her magic and takes to the sky and engages Lucifer in area combat. Lucifer suddenly shot at Amy but was saved by Ashiel, who was now in his demonic form, explaining that Satan's magic has saved him from death. Lucifer, now at March, orders Obam to use his many magic to help him. Satan now promised to show Shiro how the soft drinks machine works later, and then lets the debris down gently. He then begins attacking with lightning magic but is defeated by Ashiel. Finally, Satan rises into the air, having gained enough magical powers, appears in front of Lucifer and finishes him off with a multi-layer magical punch, knocking me out and thereby defeating him. That's all for today, so make sure to like, subscribe and turn on the notifications so you can watch more anime videos just like this.